Adding a wildlife or frog pond is really easy, and it's a great way to improve the biodiversity in your local area. We all need water to survive. Birds, frogs, and insects are no different. In a world where so many wetlands have been drained or destroyed, it's quite rewarding to create something that gives back to nature. Creating a small pond or a stream doesn't need to break the bank or your back. If you don't already know me, my name is Kev, and the aim of my channel is to help people build and maintain a pond or water garden without spending a fortune. If that sounds like something that interests you, you might like to subscribe and visit my website ozponds.com. So first let's talk design. Generally a wildlife or frog pond is going to be relatively small. I live in southern Australia and our winters are cold by Australian standards, but not by some of you living in North America or Northern Europe. So even in a shallow pond, I'm not worried about it freezing solid. A thin layer of ice overnight is possible. Anyway, if the pond is small and shallow, it's best to place it in a shaded area. Shade has lots of benefits to a small pond. One, it keeps the water cooler in summer, and that allows the pond to hold more oxygen. In warmer water, there's less oxygen. Shade also helps prevent algae outbreaks. Algae can easily take over a small pond, and that can also cause issues with oxygen levels inside the pond. A shade canopy in winter can also prevent the water freezing. Next, you'll want to design it in a way that allows the frogs and the wildlife you're looking to attract easy access to the water. In my area, I notice the toads tend to amble along the ground, and they don't seem to climb well. They need help getting in and out of the water. The frogs, on the other hand, seem to jump here, there, and everywhere, and they can climb pretty much any surface. You'll also want to consider areas for hiding and breeding. Rocks, pebble, plants, branches, and logs are all good additions to any wildlife frog pond. When it comes to constructing the pond, you just need something that will hold water. If you provide the habitat, they will come. At the moment, I have hundreds of tadpoles in this bucket I was using to grow some natural food for my fish tanks. The bucket still has lots of natural elements, like a mud bottom, plenty of plants, and a branch that I can't even remember why I put in there, but there it is. If you want to attract frogs or toads and have the majority of the tadpoles survive, you'll need to be careful what other animals you add to the pond. For example, right next to that bucket is this mini pond in a pot, and it has cherry shrimp. For some reason, there isn't a single tadpole in this pond. I can only assume that the shrimp are consuming the eggs that would become tadpoles. In my little solar pond and stream, there are lots of shrimp and there's a few tadpoles, and I do see a white cloud also found its way into the pond. In this barrel pond, I have native shrimp caught in a local creek. There's hundreds of tadpoles in here. It seems the native shrimp aren't predating on the tadpole eggs. I don't know what the point of that ramble was. I guess I'm just trying to say, if you want lots of tadpoles, be careful what you put in the pond. Anyway, just in my yard, you can see that a bucket, an old wine barrel, and a lined pond with a pump can all be used to create a habitat for various life. You could also use an old bathtub or a stock trough, anything that'll hold water. If you do want design freedom and you want to create something that looks more natural, the best option is a liner. For a small pond, I'd be happy for you to use a cheaper liner like HDPE or LLDPE. Usually I recommend EPDM. I'll throw a link in the description. If you need to dig, it's pretty easy for a small pond like this. And if you can't be bothered digging, just use one of the other options and naturalize it with rock, wood, and plants. To maintain water quality, we simply utilize the plants and a substrate. A layer of dirt or mud 2 inches deep is fine, then a layer of fine gravel over the top, again an inch or two, and various plants into the substrate and on the margins. You can create a shelf or two if you like, but remember to create areas where the critters can easily get in and out of the water, especially if they're clumsy like my native toads. The deep substrate will provide areas for bacteria and microorganisms, and the plants will consume nutrients inside the pond. The muddy sandy bottom will also provide an area to hide in summer and winter. In summer the cooler water is down here, and in winter the warmer water is here. Basically, the more stable water temperature will be in this muddy substrate zone down the bottom of the pond. If you want to have circulation or the sound of running water, you can add a small pump. I like to place the pump in a small pot and cover with some coarse sponge. This helps prevent the pump getting clogged and me needing to clean it all the time, and it stops little critters getting sucked in. Because these types of ponds have few animals, you don't really need any additional filtration. And the beauty of animals like tadpoles is they consume algae and biofilms inside the pond, use it to grow big and strong, and then they hop away. And this is just a wonderful little glimpse into the way nature uses all living things to process and transport nutrients and food here, there, and everywhere. Pretty much as soon as you fill the pond, it'll become alive. There would be bacteria, fungi, and tiny organisms in the soil, mud, and sand that you used as the substrate. And there's probably things clinging to the plants that you planted. You might get some unwanted fish on the plants, so it may pay to quarantine the plants if you don't want any fish in the pond. I believe it takes goldfish eggs 4 to 5 days to hatch, and they're the only fish that I've had hitchhike on plants that I've bought. I usually don't bother quarantining the plants, and I've always been able to easily catch the fish that appear and remove them from these small types of ponds. And some people do like to add a few small fish to the pond to keep mosquitoes away. I've found that even in my fishless ponds, I still don't have mosquitoes, even if I have no water circulation or agitation. In my observations, mosquitoes appear to prefer gross water. When the pond is healthy and thriving, I just don't see them. And another possibility is that dragonflies love these type of ponds, and they're going to eat mosquitoes, and their larvae will also hunt mosquito larvae. And I always notice dragonfly larvae in all my ponds. When it comes to maintenance, you shouldn't really need to do much on these small wildlife style ponds. If it looks like algae is taking over, you just manually remove it. Don't remove it all if there are tadpoles in there. I find they do a good job keeping it in check. Now, if you want to create a bigger pond, or you want to keep fish, and you still want the pond to look natural and be a haven for wildlife, I've got plenty of other videos and articles on my website. Building and maintaining a pond doesn't need to be hard or expensive. I hope this video gave you some ideas or inspiration to improve the biodiversity in your yard. Thanks for watching. See ya.